Good afternoon. We have a special guest speaker for you today. Please give a warm welcome to the hosts of My Gym Partners, a podcast. Attendance is mandatory.
Bull shark, porcupine, I don't know what. Going to this school is a pain in my podcast.
Alright, you had to undercut me there. This is gonna be like the first time in a while that I do a bit, like a little bit, but you're gonna undercut me.
Boy.
Would you rather me just start over, Renee?
No, it's fine. Let's keep it going.
No, yeah, hold on. I'll start over. Bull shark, porcupine, I don't know what. You're gonna do this podcast, a pain in the podcast, right? That's how it goes?
Yeah,
I think that's a while.
I think that's it. Doing this podcast is a pain in the... Okay, Renee. Bull shark, porcupine, I don't know what. Doing this podcast is a pain in the...
Alright, Renee. Bull shark, porcupine, I don't know what. Doing this podcast is a pain in the...
That's your cue, Renee. We haven't done one this long before, but that's still where you come in.
Here, I'll do it again for you. Bull shark, porcupine...
Hey, wait, Lucy, stop. How about we do it at the same time? Alright, on one.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Bull shark, porcupine,
porcupine,
I what? Doing this podcast is a pain in the...
This show's really gone downhill.
Renee, you have your fucking chance. You had something.
Your chance so many times.
We gave you like 5. None of us have gotten to do this for this long. You should be honored.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to My Gym Partners, a podcast.
What was it? I'm like actually bothered now. I want to hear your bit. I didn't even mean to mess up in the beginning. I fucked up, okay?
I thought this was the bit. I thought we were doing this as...
I literally accidentally did that. Go, Renee, pretend we said it again. Come on.
Oh, boy. After that musical episode, where to go but down? I don't know.
Was that it? Was that what was
Lucy, I think what we did was kind of better.
Hey everybody, as Renee said, yes, we are My Gym Partners in podcast. It's been a hot minute. We've had some busy weeks, but we are back in it, and we are ready to finish this series off strong. This is the we're in the final 4 here. It is going to be this episode, and then there's only going to be 3 more episodes of this podcast, right?
Well, there's going to be this episode. There's going to be the next episode that has the next 2 episodes, and then there's going to be the final 2, which is going to be they're going to be something. Those 2 specials back to back.
Oh boy, I hope y'all are excited about that. But you know what? Here we are. In comfortable mediocrity, I would say. Just getting back to our roots. It's very comfortable. Our first episode is Knights of the Multiplication Table.
Finally.
Now, let me ask y'all. When you heard this title, what was your initial impression? What were you like? Oh, were you just so excited? Like, just really excited? Like, you thought, wow, it's gonna be like a really cool episode. It's like,
well,
like seeing the thumbnail, seeing Phineas, assuming that this would be a spiffy episode, which I was correct. I was just like, I can't keep this up. I was dreading this episode. Who cares about an episode starring the Spiffies?
Another towny episode, am I right, everybody? Am I right, family?
But this is the funny thing about this episode, right? Not to pull back the veil a bit, but you can guess from the title. This is like one of those fantasy AU episodes where like the gang are like going like through like an adventure in a fantasy world, like whether it be like D&D or like a video game or like just a daydream. That's we're in it for this episode. But
it's a classic cartoon gag.
But rather
That's what
than
you're
it
saying.
being, like our the pack that we've known and grown with, despite their flaws, they're a cast of characters that we've grown accustomed to, that we love. This episode is not about them. It very much sidetracks them.
Renee, you do realize, though, that D&D is for stupid fucking nerds, and none of our main cast are stupid fucking nerds. So
How can we be so silly? Right.
we
No,
would
that is
have-
exactly the problem.
of course we would use the spiffies for it. We don't want people thinking Jake is, annoying. An undesirable
Well-
friend.
Who would dare to play D&D? It's funny, nowadays where almost everybody has a D&D podcast, a D&D show, and it's so widely
It's like a
accustomed
thing
into
that-
culture these days.
Everybody and their mother has a D&D campaign or has started one and then quit after the first campaign, which is
Well, I remember even I was at my old job. I left my work. I walked outside to the parking lot where usually employees about to go on their shift or on breaks are hanging out, and there was just a group of them, just young adults who, for all intents and purposes, I didn't really assume to be much into nerdy stuff like that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, have you ever heard of D&D? We just found out about it. It's pretty cool. We want to do it." And it's
we watch a podcast.
it became it became a lot more mainstream, which is I think kind of cool in
Yeah,
a way. It definitely makes episodes like this show their age though.
I'm glad that people who believe nerds are oppressed are slowly losing ammo for that assumption, and they're coming into the realization that they're actually maybe just unlikable and kind of mean, and that's why people don't want to hang out with them. It isn't because they play D&D, it's because they're unapproachable.
Segueing perfectly into the problems of this episode.
So, in this episode, we have a group of unapproachable, nerds.
Unlikable characters that have only ever been antagonists to our main characters. Why would we want to watch them go on this adventure? Yeah, so it starts out with the spiffies. Well, I should say it starts out with the marquee sign as always, but it says something like, "Oh, where's our marquee post?" And then we zoom out to see that it's just kind of floating in the air, and then it falls to the ground.
Finally, we get a episode revolving around that, the marquee. the thing that has followed us the entire series. We get an episode to finally give it some story,
Right. So the Spiffies are playing D&D or some sort of variation of it. They've got these little cute figurine things, that they're playing on a...
Phineas has got a little kitty.
Yeah, called Chansey or something like
Sir
that.
Chansey of Glensdale.
Yeah.
Yes, Sir Chansey. He rolls a dice of some sort that just says slay on it. He beats the monster, and then all of a sudden we get a familiar face. Mr. Blowhole
It would have been
back.
It would have been too nerdy for them to use a regular D20. People
Yeah,
wouldn't
they
understand. It's a 20? Is that good? No, it has to say kill on it. This is
The kill dice.
yeah.
Mr. Blowhole is there with, of course, accompanied by his typical whale noises, but I don't know why I felt they were a lot more pronounced.
It's because we haven't seen him take up an actual episode role since the first episode. I feel like Mr. Blowhole has been, out of any single employee except maybe Mrs. Loon or Miss Loon. I don't know if she's married or not. I hope I was just wondering if Mrs. Loon was with anybody. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me, Principal Pixie.
Get out of here, Mr. Hornbill. Get out. You're
okay.
fired.
Mrs. Warthog, you look... Get out of here, you piece of shit. We should have fired you 4 years ago. Oh, so lovely. Bye.
And scene.
And scene. But anyway, I think Mr. Blowhole hasn't had a lot of time to actually talk in the series. So maybe that's why it sounds so My ears!
I don't know, like, you just mentioned it, Lucy, but, like, like, it was only by you mentioning it that I remembered that there are whale noises. Like, I don't know, it's just completely in the background to me. I don't like, recognize it.
Remember, we had a whole...
It's deafening.
We had a whole...
Don't know what you
soothing.
mean.
I don't know, like,
We had a whole bit about Mr. Blowhole having an ASMR YouTube.
That's right, we did. I forgot about that. It's been a while, but he calls the attention of the Spiffies back to the learning, and of course, Jake and Adam burst in, almost like as if they're already in the middle of a separate episode going on, where Jake is like pulling along a post that he's drawn like a face on and has like a wig on, and Adam's just like, "Oh, Jake, like you gotta give the marquee post back," and Jake's like, "Oh, but I'm in love with her." And it's just
it's totally the ridiculous antics of an unseen episode. I mean, look at it. It's so crazy. Jake in love with the marquee post?
We need to see the whole episode. Go on Twitter right now. Hashtag Cahill Cut. Where's the Cahill Cut?
Where's the Cahill Cut? We know that it's there. Say what you had to, Renee.
But okay. So like, this like starts off like pretty quick. All this is like a few like minutes. But Phineas is just looking at this like Principal Pixie Frog like yelling about like Jake getting away from the marquee. It's pretty hilarious, but he's like, "Oh man, that ruffian Jake, oh, I hate him disrupting our precious learning. Oh, I wish I could do something about it."
So, yeah, he starts to kind of have a daydream sequence, and that's what the majority of the
he
is.
daydreams, a nerd.
Yeah, so it's medieval times, and the Principal Pixie Frog is the king, so I guess it'd make him, what, King Pixie Frog?
Dunces and Dragons.
I was gonna reference that because I was like, I wonder how close they weren't close in timeline, right? Like this definitely came
Hold on.
before.
I gotta look it up.
They feel kind of close together.
I don't know. I felt like Dunces and Dragons came later. Well, like
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like Dungeons and Dragons was like a later SpongeBob in my timeline of SpongeBob. Nowadays, it'd be considered like middle.
Wait, that was 2006. There's no way that aired in 2006.
Renee, did you find out what you needed to find out?
Yeah.
This episode came out 2 years after Dunces and Dragons. Seems
way.
a bit sus.
How were we all so wrong? Because
I mean, that's what I thought initially when I first saw this. I even wrote in my notes, like, is this, a ripoff of this? But like, did they see how much they like milked this, like the Dunces and Dragons of SpongeBob, and they wanted to make their own version? But for some reason in my head, I was like, no, this episode definitely, like, My Gym Partner is a Monkey definitely like ended before 4 seasons SpongeBob.
The dragon is vanquished, the princess returned, and nobody even got badly burned.
But I mean, we should say, for the record, that this is a very common episode archetype, and like, it's like
yeah, it is
times of like development between episodes, even though there was like a 2-year gap between it. Whatever,
Tom Kenny was like, when I was on SpongeBob, I did like a Dunces and Dragons thing, and they're just like, Tom Kenny, you gotta give us some insider information. We'll raise your salary. You want to make a little bit more...
voice another 10 characters?
You want to make a little bit more Jakey money? You want to make a little bit more Henry money?
Henry money. So, okay, we're getting off track. Adam is a jester. The main conflict is that Miss Warthog, who is the Lady Warthog, has, been kidnapped by the monkey dragon or whatever the fuck, and the Spiffies, who are the Knights of the Multiplication Table, must, go to save... her, I guess, for Principal Pixie Frog. Mr. Mandrill's like what is he, minstrel mandrill? He's got a little lute. He looks like he's having a great time.
He looks so cute.
He doesn't know how to...
Wow. Look, I have to say it in like in an objective way. It's kind of...
Yeah?
It's kind of like, Moe, how he's acting.
I will...
I'm not...
Moe Mandrill.
That's all I'm saying. There's,
I-
no implications there.
I'm not gonna mess with you on this one, Renee. It's objectively, like, I feel like what they were going for. He's a bit Moe, isn't he?
He's puckish.
Lucy, you say it too.
No. Well, I mean, I'll say yeah. I won't say it, though.
Okay. Perfect.
I feel like there was a version of this episode where Mr. Mandrill was there throughout the entirety of it, but they're like, we don't want like Mr. Mandrill joining our party. He sounds like he would be a bad singer. Let's get Adam, the jester, with us. And so like they have Adam narrating their adventure.
Adam is like... I mean, I guess it is like a nerd-induced hallucination, so like none of this really matters, but Adam is, I think it's like worth noting, he's not that whiny throughout this one. It's an episode where he's just kind of like, he's just there.
Along for the ride.
Maybe a little bit of bodily harm, but...
The assumption would just be that, like, this is, like, his, like, daydream world where, like, Adam is, like, the like, his pawn, his perfect stool pigeon.
What's it? His ward? His fucking...
toady. His little, minion guy that he gets to boss around. It's perfect. We don't really get to see that, like, played out in its full form, though. Somewhat. But, they're off to rescue Lady Warthog, from the clutches of the monkey dragon. They're going through, first, a bog. And
Adam sings about some bog beast.
Yeah.
Phineas is convinced it's not real. It's just a myth. Don't worry about it. But then, of course, Bull Sharkowski, or should I say Bog Sharkowski, jumps out. Phineas sacrifices Adam to... so that they can sneak by.
Yeah.
It's vicious.
A common theme with this episode is the nerds finding creative ways that avoid fighting.
Yeah. They just kind of sneak their way around everything. They come across a boat. None of them know how to... none of them have never been in one for various reasons, and I found Daniel's very funny.
Yeah, hey, for anybody... Y'all know Daniel? y'all definitely know Daniel. So the like the squid kid who like doesn't ever say anything unless
he's like in a tank all the time.
He's like in a tank all the time. And has he said like full sentences before? He said words.
They talk.
But for this like whole little bit, he's just like, I'm allergic to everything, and my parents can't go on vacation because of me.
Like, my parents can't even go on vacation anywhere because of me. I just found it was like a very funny little back and forth between him and Adam. They do manage to get on it though. Adam, is like, I'll use my loot to as an oar. We're gonna get by, but he sings, warning them about what else you find in a watery adventure: sirens.
Ooh. Carrie's a siren.
Yeah, this is where like all right, we're doing the classic thing where this is a daydream, so we're like inputting the characters you see every day in like new roles. This is where girls go.
Yeah, literally all the
Done.
girls.
Put girls. Add girls.
Mrs. Tusk is there. Like Mrs. Tusk, Ingrid, Lupe, the three girls I always forget the names of.
Jody
and Carrie. Yeah.
No, go on.
Is it one like Margie or something?
I think it's Jody.
And Joni. You're already wrong.
Latanya. Yeah. Latanya's one of them, and Cammy.
Margaret. You're completely wrong.
Okay.
You failed the test.
Oh no, Gert, you're slipping! You're falling through the hole! Gert!
And like we're like in a cave, and like you just like you look over and there's like a small passage on the ground, like a little like tube that you could not possibly crawl back out of if you fell into it, and I'm just like sliding slowly into it. I'm like, farewell!
No,
and you
Kurt!
never see me again. I went
so
spelunking
sad.
yesterday. I'm thinking about the depths.
I'm thinking about the depths of this episode, which is not much.
This is the most shallow episode I think we've had in a while. The sirens don't say anything. None of them are really affected, except Adam, sort of, but he just kind of gets dizzy for like a second. And then the elephant,
Aloysius.
I feel like, Aloysius.
Aloysius.
Who I feel like doesn't really talk a lot normally. We hear a lot of this
like,
episode.
hey!
He uses something called siren repellent, which is just an inhaler that he spurts out some stuff, and the sirens scream and run away. So then they've made their way to a mountain top of some sort. They're climbing up a snowy mountain. They run across what they call like twin beasts, and it's just a horrifying giant Slips with a giant Windsor inside him. So that's fun. That's a fun thing to look at.
Can we talk about how mean? Can we talk about how mean spirited like the whole thing with like inhalers being like fucking embarrassing?
Yeah, that's like not good.
That's like so mean. Like I didn't really think about how like kind of cruel that is. It's just
because they are literally like lifesavers and very important things for
it's
people
just like,
who need them.
Haha, nerd, you need a thing to help you not die.
Wow. If anybody out there ever has asthma or any need for an inhaler, you should not feel embarrassed with that inhaler. That is nothing to be embarrassed about. And everybody who's made you feel embarrassed about them, we're gonna personally kick their asses. So just send me their names and addresses.
Yeah,
we'll get on that right away.
Let me like show up to their house and have a discussion with them. And I'll
we'll
bring
talk about their toxic behavior.
I'll bring my giant inhaler that's like the size of a car, and I'll be like, stand in front of this. Go ahead, do it. And then, like, they say something like, yeah, I'm like, what's your opinion on people with inhalers? And they're like, nerds. And then I press the button, I blow them away. With
Just like Aloysius.
Yeah, like Aloysius. Just like that.
They have a little disagreement, Slips and Windsor. They kind of do the whole, oh, we're going to give you 3 riddles. But then Slips is like, no, 2 is better because I can't remember 3 things. And as they're having this dumb little argument, the party just slips by. Again,
We're
not
just
fighting them at all.
They're just like,
they're just like, we're passing through. And they're like, oh okay, go on then.
go on.
They let them go on. But, and it's here where, like, you know, the culmination where Adam makes the realization, like, you just, like, bypassed everybody. You just, like, avoided fighting. You've never fought anybody, have you?
And I really love the way that, like, Adam, like, catches on to this. He's like, wait, y'all have never fought. You just ignore everything. Bye! And he just, like, leaves.
I'm glad he's realized for his own safety.
Now we get the final showdown, and this is disgusting.
It's pretty bad. We see a freakish creature, the monkey dragon. That I'm sure all of you know what monkey this dragon must be.
You must know.
You must know.
It's Jake. He just kind of.
He's the one who ruins everything.
Yes, he's the one who ruins everything. He farts on the rest of the party members besides Phineas, and they like instantly disintegrate. It's very just like a fart beam. It's just I don't like
Correct
it.
me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. Maybe this has like definitely happened before, but this felt like the most like direct a fart joke in this show, because like I feel like you know in other episodes it's just like you get like the stink lines and stuff and like a smell emanating from somewhere, and it's like, oh, what's that smell? And that's like the fart joke or something. But it's not like fart beams being like propelled into like characters' faces. That's what's happening here. Here it is. Please write in the comments if I'm wrong, so I can feel bad about this
He's
one
shooting
fact.
like killer vapor.
Yeah, it's like a weapon. He's using farts as a weapon. But Phineas is still alive, and he's like, this is personal. I don't even care about Miss Warthog, which they were disappointed to find out that she was the one they were rescuing to begin with. He puts on a little cat mask and assumes his new identity as Sir Chansey from Glensdale or whatever, and he rolls a d20 again, and Jake like trips on it and kind of like falls, and he's like, ow, why'd you do that?
Why'd you do that, Phineas? That wasn't nice.
He runs away, and they've saved the day. Oh, but, well, there was a kind of funny joke here where Miss Warthog's just, like, still tied up. She's like, aren't you forgetting something? And Phineas pulls out a bomb, and he's like, yes, I have to finish him off! And, like, throws the bomb in after him.
Finish him off!
But, yeah, so then that's the end of that adventure, if you could even call it that. We go back to reality, and Phineas is, like, loudly complains about how he's like, Jake, being Jake, and there's some antics, and oh boy, Phineas is like, oh, I thought I defeated you, in my fantasy, and Jake's like, oh, you want defeat? I'll give you defeat, and he like slaps his feet in Phineas's faces. Yeah, it's real funny.
Well, a boy can always
I
dream.
a little bit. Did y'all knuck a little bit?
I knucked a little bit, maybe just a tad bit.
I'll give it like once. I will say this was like a weirdly like quick episode. This one was paced very quickly, which I guess it was favorable. Like they got into it like pretty quick, like the whole like fantasy AU and stuff. But like as we hinted at in the beginning, the problem with doing this sort of story with characters that aren't really that fleshed out and somewhat despised, you could say, is that you don't really get a sense of them like funny antics with them as characters, because they're all just nerds. They're like that's like the point of them. They're the annoying nerd characters.
There's not really anything different about them, except maybe Phineas has like. I feel like all of them have like a similar sort of, it's like the same sort of personality, right? And Phineas is just that personality, but like meaner.
Yeah, meaner with like a superiority complex, and that's what makes like Phineas like he's earned being like the main character of this. But like all the other ones, they're pretty interchangeable, except for the pig, which is a bit more like creepy.
Just a tiny bit.
It's because he's small, and they might.
The fun part about doing like a AU episode of any kind is getting to see characters you're familiar with in like roles that you would expect of them. Like you might look at, for instance, Jake and Adam, and you'd be like, oh, it'd be really funny if in a fantasy AU that Jake was a clown, or like a jester or whatever, and Adam was like a bard, and they were kind of like the losers of the fantasy world. It'd be funny, it'd make sense, or something like that.
Are you saying this would be better if this was a gem episode?
Yeah, if this was a gem episode and not a townie episode, I'd like it more, and I think we could end it on that.
Yeah.
Hey, up he rises, hey, up he rises, hey, up he rises early in the morning. I think I would have liked Assassin's Creed Black Flag. What do people think about it? What's like the consensus on it?
About what?
Hello.
About Assassin's Creed Black Flag. What do people think about it?
Never
What's
played
like
it.
the consensus?
Hello?
You played Assassin's Creed Black Flag?
No. Well, I've seen
Alright.
it played, and in my opinion, out of all the like Assassin's Creed games, it seems like it's got parts that are actually fun in it.
But how is it as a pirates game?
It's probably the bits where you're on a boat and doing pirate stuff are like a good pirate game, but then you have to do normal Assassin's Creed things, and it's not fun.
Yeah, like trailing missions and all that stuff.
Yeah, like trailing missions and just Just a bunch of nonsense.
I can remember very distinctly the first time I played an Assassin's Creed game. It was at my friend's house, and she's like, "Oh yeah, this is Assassin's Creed," and like she gave me the controller, and like I just spent like an hour just like running around and jumping on buildings and like doing parkour, and that was always the best part of Assassin's Creed, and I never gave two shits about the story.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's always like Ezio Vantori, the man of the hour.
Anyway, let's talk about the next episode. A Very Special Boy is the name of our next episode. And let me just tell you, this might be a controversial opinion between the members of the My Gym Partners, a podcast crew, but I think this episode is really good.
Yeah, it was alright.
I think it's a weird one. I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about it. Maybe I'll give my hot Twitter take about it later.
Okay.
Make sure it's off the record, just like your personal account, because you don't want your opinions representing the entirety of us, the empire we've created.
The empire of three.
Yeah.
We have.
But I will say that this episode has a strong energy to it. It's not. It doesn't leave your mind so easy. It makes you uneasy a bit. I'd say.
To me, who can't remember what the episode was about.
Oh my god. So, Adam's walking through the hallway, and he's just causing chaos left and right.
Yeah,
he is nonchalant. He does not fucking care anymore.
He's just being, like, a complete, like, asshole. Like, he plucks a hair off of some elephant boy's butt, and then he uses it to pick his teeth. So not only is he being, like, aggressive and like, mean, but he's also being very strange. He's just like, I guess I'm immune to everything, including disease.
Yeah, he manages to tick off everyone, including Miss Warthog, who he jumps onto the back of, and she's like, "Oh, watch out, you're gonna, get infected from my back sores." And he's like, "Ugh, gross."
It's just like, she's like, "Don't worry, it's not actually contagious. The pus oozing from my back isn't actually contagious, don't worry." He's like, ugh.
But then here we get the real crux of the episode. Jake is disturbed by Adam's behavior. It's like, "What are you doing? What's wrong with you?" And Adam is just like, I just realized something. Like, I never actually get hurt. I never lose a limb, never stub a toe. I'm pretty invincible. And Jake's like, "Well, your pride is wounded on a daily basis." It's like, yeah, but talking more physical here. He's like aware, almost in a way, that he's a cartoon character, is what I initially thought.
He has discovered that he has plot armor.
Yes, like it's a character discovering their plot armor in the last 4 episodes of the series.
I can do anything. There's no way. Stops existing.
Like it's a very funny thing to me, and usually the show's kind of like meta-ness pointing at itself kind of annoys me, but for some reason I kind of liked it a lot in this episode. I don't know, I think the dialogue in this episode was really sharp.
I think the in-universal explanation for why he, like, the fact that it wasn't, so, like, moving on a little bit, it's not actually the plot armor that's keeping him safe.
Yeah, he's part of like a student protection list or whatever.
Yeah, because like, that actually, I kind of enjoy that, because even though they basically hinted at him being the only one on it, I kind of feel like other students might be on it as well. Like, I could see Henry Armadillo or James Ant being on the protected students list for sure. Like,
there's a moment where, as Adam and Jake are talking, where Adam is sitting inside Bull Sharkowski's mouth, like taking a shower, and I just was reminded of that really funny bit from the pilot episode where Jake was in Bull's mouth. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that part that actually happened. Go watch the pilot episode that we covered. That was totally real and totally not an April Fool's joke.
It really was. we did a, not to like toot our own horns or anything, we did a great job at that episode like didn't actually come out. We recreated it from the ground up. It's a good approximation. You'll love it.
You'll love it. Show it to your kids. But Jake reveals to him, "Oh, you're like on the protected student status list or whatever. You're protected from this." And Adam's like, "What? So that means I can just get away with doing things like this?" And he just starts going around, like, yanks all of Lupe's feathers out, like, just starts doing a bunch of horrible stuff.
And Lupe's just like, "No, you can't get away." And then she, like, soon, like, she starts to think about what she's, like, saying, and she's like, "No, you can do it. You missed a feather."
You missed a feather. Here you go. And so he's in Principal Pixie Frog's office, and Principal Pixie Frog finds this very, very amusing that Adam thinks he's invincible.
Invincible!
But I could see you.
Yeah, that was a joke that Adam made, or that Jake made when Adam mentioned being invincible. Confusion of words, thinking things mean something that they don't actually mean. Invisible. That's kind of like invincible. That sounds kind of like it.
Well, no. Adam, as Principal Pixie Frog explains, is a protected student, and Adam suspects that he is the only one on the list. And it's like, unimpressively, the Principal Pixie Frog tries to dissuade him. No, of course not. There's many people on the list. People on the list who might not have, like, the survival skills to, like, compete with predators, or they might not be athletic, or they might have a bad fashion sense and think that cargo shorts are somehow a clothing item they can wear, or they might have such white, pale, pallid skin that they somewhat glow in the dark.
Like, he just starts going off, like, listing all these attributes that could, be attributed to Adam, and Adam is, like, sitting there, like seething.
He's like turning red like a fucking tomato. Like, he's getting furious, and, like,
He's going through a whole range of emotions, from like sudden like realization to like really like depressed to like just like surprised and furious.
It's really fun. I think that the expressions that Adam has in this episode are really funny to me. Just like the line delivery of this whole just absolute like destruction of Adam and his character. It's so ruthless.
I think
he calls him like namby-pamby, like the embodiment of namby-pamby.
That's like this like whole little like bit here. I don't think there's a show that I've seen ever that has been so like relentless towards cargo shorts. Like, I've never seen a show so angry at a clothing item before, because this isn't the first time that they've like mentioned that aspect of Adam Lyon's character. It's really funny how much they just like dig into his design, how much they like point out how badly dressed they made him.
Well, I think the thing is, like, and this is like sort of like lamp shaded with like a thing that Jake says later, but just I think this was the era where like a lot of WordPress like blogs and like blogger type blogs were like cropping up talking about like cartoon shows in this day. And like show creators might have been like looking into that and seeing like all these like complaints and stuff, and be like, yeah, we can be a bit self-aware about this, what people are saying about our cartoon.
It's like the internet is just now becoming a thing that that you could talk about like TV shows, specific TV shows. You could talk about cartoons even.
And have the creators look at that and actively react to that in their show. And
it's so weird thinking about this happening in like 2006 or whatever. Like,
this cartoon reviewers aren't as new a concept as people would have you think.
It's just like
they've been around for a really long time.
It's just crazy to think about like people that were probably my age now watching this show when I was a baby and watching it, and I didn't even have internet. And it was like far off from having it, and I was just like, yay, the monkey show that I like, it's on. Yay, I can watch it.
And they were like, this show is an abhorrent abscess on the face of cartooning.
And I'm like,
this is going to single-handedly ruin cartoons.
I remember on that sad October day, and perhaps this should be saved for like later on. I'll expand upon it on our final episode. But I remember feeling somewhat sad when My Gym Partner's a Monkey ended, very briefly, as I watched it on Friday nights, because it was almost symbolic of an era of my life that was being just passed by. It's over.
But not yet.
That's why I'll talk about it in future episodes.
Adam insists to be taken off the list and insists I can handle it. So Principal Pixie Frog has him sign a paper, which is, the rights to his life, for TV and film. And he announces over the intercom that Adam is no longer on the list. So all the
looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Yeah, which is really funny to me. This kind of whole idea is that if Adam was not on this list, day one, he would have been targeted and people would have tried to eat him. Like, that's the only reason nobody has eaten Adam Lion at this animal school is because he was on this list. This whole time we kept thinking, why isn't anybody eating him? Do other students eat each other? But apparently not. They all have their own little defense mechanisms. So, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but all the animals that Adam had previously ticked off earlier in the hallway all kind of like swoop in on him, and they all have like JPEGs picture heads of their like actual animal versions of themselves. It's very funny.
They're definitely going to like consume this boy.
Yeah, but Jake swoops in, grabs Adam, brings him to like up on a tree branch, and then he pushes Adam into a pot, and it's like, Mama's little monkey loves human stew.
Mama's little monkey loves human stew, and he's like chopping up carrots. It's like the classic Disney Bugs Bunny bit.
Did you see? Never mind.
What do you mean, Lucy?
And even the pack is there with forks, and they're all like, human stew. But Adam's like, okay, guys, I know none of you are carnivores, except for Slips.
But to which Slips says, yeah, but I'm just here for the conversation. I ate like a hamster 3 weeks ago, and I'm wicked stuff, dude. Which, like, snake humor.
Little animal humor.
Herpetology jokes. I like it. I like it when they get into a bit of that, and it's like, I know that. But they all don't really want to eat Adam. They just felt peer pressured in. They wanted to jump the bandwagon. This imagery of them all like waiting like to like eat Adam in this crock pot with their forks up, like looking expectantly, always like saying, "Oh, break me off a piece of that, save the neck for me."
It's very scary.
God.
There's a dark energy in this episode.
Imagining being just eaten by animals that don't even normally eat meat, just because the option is like now like
available,
present for them. Yeah, it's like kind of like horrifying. Like, imagine a giraffe eating, like, a human.
Maybe it's happened. We don't know. Now...
It could have happened. We don't know.
Adam is like, I'm used to you guys disappointing me. I'm angry, though. He's angry. He's like, listen, you all survived this school environment, and you're all imbeciles. So, what's the deal there? And so they each kind of go down, and they talk about what they do to save themselves from getting eaten at Charles Darwin.
Yeah, they all have traits.
Okay, but yeah, so They, as Windsor says, their goofball antics are actually a defense mechanism that helps them. Like Jake uses his butt to like actually gross out predators and website bloggers,
Selfo
like us. It's
like us.
It's worked. It's worked like a decade later. Lupe, like her fake, like overly accented voice is a deterrent that is like obnoxious. Windsor, actually, like his voice is like an affect that he puts on. He doesn't speak as eloquently. Ingrid just has like a swordfish. She's just like, I use this.
I'm good at this.
That's pretty funny. And Slips, well, I mean, he's a snake. He that's what he does.
He's like, dude, like, even I gross myself out. Snakes gross me out, and I'm a snake.
That makes me sad.
That does make me. That is a little sad. He shouldn't feel. I hate I'm glad that we moved on past the snakes are gross phase of human history. At least I feel like we've made great steps towards that, because a lot of people, you know, they post like snakes nowadays and they're just like, ooh, noodle dog, ooh, my little funny like guy, and I'm like, you know what, that's good. I'm glad that people aren't just like being like, ew, what is that thing?
We've definitely grown as a society,
We have.
but Slips, you know, he's like, you know, of course I'm pretty full, so like, you know, I won't eat you, Adam. But then like he coughs up that hamster, and he's the most terrifying we've seen Slips. I think I think it's safe to say This is the most terrifying Slips, where he's just like, oh well, I guess, you know, you're looking pretty tasty now, Adam. Ooh, my little chicken muscle.
Yeah, he's like really gross, opens his mouth really big, and Adam is just terrified. He starts just like screaming at this like supersonic level, and there's a bunch of just stock footage of like what's like nuclear bombs going off, like a running of the bowls. It's just a lot of stuff like that.
It's pretty crazy. And then he like falls on Mrs. Warthog's back, and then like he like gets reminded of her pus, and then yells again, and then the whole sequence plays again.
And they've discovered his natural defense mechanism. It's his freakish vocal range. And this Principal Pixie Frog was like, you know, that was really disturbing. You know, instead of putting you back on the list, we're going to put literally everybody but you on the list to protect them from your horrible screaming. So thank you for that, Adam Lyon. Poor Mr. Blowhole is like out of the water. He's just like sitting by the like laying by the side. And Mr. Mandrill's crouched beside him. He's got like a stack of dynamite in one of those like plunger things, and he's like, "Don't worry, Mr. Blowhole. I saw this on TV. I'll get you back in there." And it cuts back to like Adam and Principal Pixie Frog talking, and you just hear like an explosion in the background.
God, this is if we don't see Mr. Blowhole in the next like few episodes, we'll know what happened to him.
He died. They killed him.
But so like everyone's like disgusted by like Adam's like obnoxious voice. Even Ingrid, I mean even Lupe is like, God, what an like obnoxious loud noise. This episode really was like, you know, taking a jab at like the, you know, the tropes that they engage with in the, like, you know, the things that people might have poked fun at back in 2006 on their WordPress blogs. But you know, I gotta say, you know, after discussing it all, I think they earned it with this one, with like how they went over it. It wasn't like, you know, ooh, fourth wall jokes coming right at you. This is a cartoon. You're watching a cartoon now, little kid.
No, it felt. I think what I liked about this episode is like, in all seriousness, not a lot happens in this episode. They just kind of like stand around and talk to each other. But loved the dialogue in it. I thought that it was really well written, and I thought that it was entertaining enough, just them having a conversation, which surprised, like, sometimes when it's just these characters having a conversation, I tend to like the episode a little more when it, like, makes sense in context of everything, and it's got some funny little jokes every here and there. I thought it was overall pretty fun. I like this episode a lot.
Yeah, this episode had some nice little bits in it. It felt a lot less like straightforward and kind of like quick like the last episode. I feel like it had a little bit more a little bit more feeling there, a little bit more to think about.
I still cannot reconcile its dark energy that this episode holds. It's still there.
That dark energy is part of the reason that makes it so fascinating. Isn't that what we're here for? To find the things so lost long ago.
This show so overlooked now. We're carry on the jobs of those like WordPress blogs, those angry cartoon reviewers, but yet at the same time, like archaeologists, looking at it in a different way, seeing not just the cracks, but the structure of it all. Isn't it beautiful? This rear end of a show.
It's amazing to get a glimpse of something so rare. This show is exactly like that cave that I visited yesterday. We hardly go down there. And when we end up going down there, we see things that don't often get looked at. My gym partner's a monkey.
Well, that was an exciting episode. Let's talk about some of our comments we got from the last video of the musical episode. Remember that? Remember when we talked about the musical?
God, that was a high point, wasn't it?
Okay, this one was from Kaiju Kid 96. I want to thank you all for this wonderful podcast. For the past few months, my cat of 17 years has been sick, and your podcast gave me joy and laughs throughout those tough times. Today he passed away, and watching this episode cheered me up to a degree and really helped me out. I'm so sorry about your cat, and I'm glad that our podcast was, something that could be here for you during that difficult time. I've had a lot of animals pass away, and it's super sad and it's super tough, but you get through it, and I'm glad that we could somewhat be there for you while you were.
I'm really happy you decided to leave us this comment. It means a lot to us to hear that we were able to help you through something, even if we were just a smidgen of a help through that, and that's a really hard thing to go through, and thank you so much.
Hope you're taking it easy.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy. Also, just like for your kitty, may they rest in peace.
Meow meow meow.
Meow meow
That's
meow.
what I imagined your cat sounded like.
We have a comment from Lenny Payne saying, "This is my favorite episode of the series. The songs were all glorious, middle school musical, animal school musical, bug stew. We'd rather do anything than sing. I've got no rhyme. Jake's got no rhyme. Rhythm is a virus. Sunshine and tulips there was, of course. I love my butt especially. Now I've got rhyme. And my personal favorite, Waiting in the Wings." That's my favorite too. The only song I hated was Magic Fish. That song sucked Jake's butt.
I
don't think so harshly of that, but thanks for
seeing all of these names, these like official sounding names for all of these songs just makes me so sad that there's no like actual like album. There's nothing that's just like these songs only. We've talked about this before, Renee, about how unfortunate it is.
I really want to just like hear like these songs in isolation, just like their like song portion, not just like them as part of the whole musical, the isolated songs. It's just they're pretty good. They got some like clever lyrics. They got some nice rhythms to them.
There's gotta be someone we can talk to, somebody we can get in contact with, so that, you know, like, we can at least know if they ever existed that way to begin with.
I'd at least love if, like, they were on YouTube. They're not anywhere. These songs are not anywhere. They're not on Spotify. They're not on CD Baby. Nowhere.
It's one of our... This is, like... You see, it's stuff like this that, like, is a good reason to do a podcast about something like My Gym Partner's a Monkey, because there are just little numbers that only exist within those episodes, and it's art that can't be appreciated anywhere else but within the show, and that's kind of like, that's sad.
Yeah, we need to do something. So here's our campaign to do it. As everybody get to work. Start writing your senators and your mayors and whatnot to get this thing going.
And we need to get in contact with the creators of My Gym Partner's a Monkey. Say their names, Renee.
Timothy and Julie Nally Cahill.
Exactly. I remember their last name. We need to get in contact. We need to ask them, where are the Animal School musical, so, like, isolated clips? Where's the audio? Where is it? Could you please release it as a CD, possibly a vinyl for those who...
I was about to say vinyl record.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say, like,
yeah.
Can you imagine? You're like, let me put out a little something. You pull out a vinyl from your record collection, and it's the Animal School music.
Allow me to set the
vinyl.
mood.
I really want to get a record player specifically to collect, like, sort of, like, niche, strange vinyls. My vinyl collection would be Silent Hill 2, like, on vinyl, the whole soundtrack, and then it would be My Gym Partner's a Monkey Animal School musical select songs.
Well, thank you for the comment. We have another comment by W-T. The time of the finale draws near. The final special scene. Now the only holiday that lies in your path is Thanksgiving. Brace yourselves, young Gert, Lucy, and Renee, for implications of post-apocalypse via endangered humans, a bizarre fantasy sequence from a... What is that? A bizarre fantasy sequence from a cetacean, the inverse of character development via possums, character redevelopment, and balloons. Oh lordy, those balloons. Anywho, I hope you guys read this and enjoy the oddly heartwarming weirdness to come. This comment scares me more than any comment I think we've ever read.
This comment feels like one of us from the future being like, you don't know what you're getting yourselves into. The end of everything is near.
Like, you need to get out now before it's too late.
But press on we must, because we only have a few episodes left until the grand finale of My Gym Partner's a Monkey. God, it's so close, and I'm telling you right now, you're not ready for this. You are not ready for the end of My Gym Partner's a Monkey.
It surprised me back then. It'll surprise me forever, I believe.
Ah, beautiful. Well, next week, 2 weeks from now, we'll be talking about the episodes Wild Thing and Lonely Lion. I hope y'all stay for that little last piece of normalcy before we go completely off the deep end.
Okay, we gotta wrap this up. I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta get out of here, y'all.
Well, with that, thank you for listening to My Gym Partners podcast. I'm Lucy.
I'm Renee.
I am Gort.
And go to the bathroom, Gert. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye!
Bye.